In this episode, I'm sharing 5 lessons from writing this book. And this is for everyone who wants to write a book, who has written a book, or if you want to manifest an idea, whether it's a song, an album, or a business, and you want to put it out into the world. So stay tuned. Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm your host and guide, Caminada, and I'm here to help you awaken, heal, and expand your consciousness. I'm relaunching and republishing my book, now called From Darkness to Light, a continuous journey towards your essence. It's the 2nd edition, so there's a different cover. Basically, in 2020, I launched the book based on my original EP, which has 5 songs. So this book has 5 chapters based on the theme of each song. So it's kind of like a mixture of memoir but spiritual self-help book, because it's quite interactive. In every chapter you can read my story, listen to the music, the song that inspired that story, but also you have a meditation for each theme and you have journal prompts. So it's quite an interactive book. I thought it would be nice to do a little video. I'm gonna leave it right here. I thought it would be nice to do a little video sharing some of the lessons that I've learned from writing, self-publishing, republishing this book, and maybe this can inspire you in your creative and spiritual journey. So number 1, writing a book is extremely healing. Yes, this is a given, right? This book, like I said, it's kind of a memoir because I'm sharing my story, but the whole process of writing the book, it's not just having the idea, but actually sitting down to write it, trying to remember things, sometimes reliving things, so that you can write in the most vulnerable and authentic way. It can be a very healing experience to write a book, or simply to just write your story. So I encourage you, even if you don't necessarily want to write a book, you can just think of chapters in your life and maybe write stories about your life. And as you write, you can feel that energy coming out of you. And I would actually say that writing the songs, because like I mentioned, the book is based on the songs that I wrote for my EP, which you can listen on Spotify and iTunes. You can check the link in the description. Writing the songs were very healing and very cathartic. Most of the songs I actually started writing through journaling and after meditating. So I would meditate and then I would get my journal and I would start writing. Sometimes I had a melody or a sentence or a word in my mind, and I would just start free writing. Out of that free writing, I would take maybe a couple of lines and then I would start putting together in a coherent song structure. So yes, it's very healing. Also, the process of writing and dealing with your shadow or your demons inside of you, it can be very healing. And this actually takes me to number 2. The imposter syndrome is real. It is real. It is real. I mean, if you're a creative, everybody is a creative, but if you're someone who works with creativity, it gets to a point where you start doubting if you're good enough basically to do this. And when you're writing a book, it feels like it's a constant thing, because when I decided to write this book, I already had pieces and I needed to put it together. When you start writing, you start doubting if it's good enough, and it's almost as if your editor self gets in the way of the writing. And this is one thing that I've learned. When you're writing, just write and try your best to not let your editor self or your ego or your inner critic to stop you from writing or to keep showing up, because there is a time for your editor self to show up, or somebody else who's gonna edit your book. So try your best to keep that energy of self-worth, and it's good enough, you're good enough. Again, it's very linked to the first topic, because as you keep doing this, you heal yourself from feelings and things that are inside of you, but you just become more aware of it when you're in the process of writing. Number 3, your story is other people's story. And this one, I think it has to do mostly when you're writing about your story and your life, because it shows that you're never alone and we're not alone in this world, and we learn from each other. We have relationships, we have this thing called love that connects us all together. But it was also really important for me to check with my mom, to check with my brother, to check with people that I mentioned the name, if they were okay with me sharing the story, because I couldn't talk about my story without sharing a little bit of my mother's story, for example, with sharing my relationship with my brother and all the things he's taught me, and other people as well that I mentioned in the book. So this is something that I've learned, and I guess like the bottom line of it is that we're really not alone in this, and we need each other to continue to live a joyful and happy life, and we need each other to heal as well. Number 4, you will never think it's finished. And this is one that also goes for songwriters or producers, sometimes even like painters. You just never think it's finished. You always want to edit something. You always think it could be better. And for me, being a Capricorn and a recovering perfectionist, this was also a very healing opportunity to let go of that and really be okay with what is and really let go. We have this term release the book, or release an album, or launch, right? And the release is really that letting go. It can always be better, it can always be changed, and guess what? We're always evolving, we're always changing. We really need to get to a point where we are satisfied with the product, and that's when having other people around you to help you and support you and say, this is really good, or this is good enough, or we can change this or that, but hey, it's done, otherwise you're never gonna release it. And also there's a little bit of fear, because you're like, oh, it's getting done, so very soon I'm gonna have to release it. So again, it goes back to the first topic, which is the whole process. It's a very healing process within yourself, and like I said, you're changing and hopefully evolving every day, because when you're in this spiritual awakening journey, when you're in the healing journey and you're expanding your consciousness, your perspective of things change too. So this takes me to number 5. Your perception of it will change, but you mustn't let it diminish its worth. And I want to explain this one because, and it's the same thing with music. Sometimes you release something and that's your best, or that's where you're at that specific moment. Months after, sometimes years after, you look back, or you listen to that song back, or you read your book back, and you just feel a little bit of a disconnection, because you feel like you've just grown so much, or you've evolved, or you've changed because other things have happened. And I launched this in 2020 when the pandemic started. I couldn't do a physical launch, and so much has happened since then that I could have literally written another book. And this was one of the reasons why I kept postponing relaunching the second edition. And I don't know if I explained this in the beginning of the video, I don't think I did, but this is this is not my EP, but this is the EP Soul Art from Darkness to Light that I launched at the end of 2017. And so when I launched the book based on the songs for my EP, my book had the same name, and then I launched in 2020, beginning of the pandemic when the world shut down. And then at the end of 2020, my book was taken down from Amazon because of the name Soul Art. The owner of the name didn't want me to have that name, and they took it down. And then I actually made a podcast about the end of the soul art era. I stopped using that name altogether and I just became Will Caminada. So if you want to check it out, I'll put the link in the card or in the description. But all of that to say that since then, I kept postponing redoing the cover or rewriting parts of the book without that name, because I was questioning whether, first of all, whether it was meant to be out, why this happened, and second of all, it was a sense of diminishing its worth. And that's a very personal thing, because I felt like I evolved and I've gone through many things after, I think everybody has, in 2020, 2021. So I kept postponing, but then the more I sat with it, I just realized that I'm actually diminishing its worth, and it's not something I should do, because my perception is very different to your perception, to the reader's perception. The same thing goes with music. Some of my first singles, I'm like, maybe I should take it out. But no, there are people who are new to my work, who are new to my music, to my books, to my videos, and they have a different, fresh perspective that we lose it because we launch the book or the album and then we're on to the next project. I think this is probably the biggest lesson. That's why I just went, no, I'm gonna relaunch it. I created a new cover for it. So this is the second edition. Like I said, it's a very interactive book. You have some journal prompts and you can listen to the meditations as well. So this is for everybody who's going through a spiritual awakening, a healing journey. And I talk about the journey, which is a continuous journey from darkness to light. It's more of a dance, because we go back and forth from darkness to light and we evolve, because there is no light without the darkness, and we find more light, the light that we are. We find that light within amidst the darkness. So that's the main message. If you're interested in learning and having this experience, which is kind of like I would say a 5-week program, if you want to do each chapter per week, you can go to willcaminada.com/book, or you can just check the link in the description and you can buy on Amazon, wherever you are, US, UK, Japan, Italy. And if you enjoy it, if you like it, please leave a review on Amazon. It's completely fresh because it's been uploaded very recently. And if by any chance you have already read the book, you have the book, please let me know in the comments how your experience went. I'd love to hear from you. And if you have any questions about the book or about the song or about the creative process or about the spiritual awakening, please let me know in the comments. And I'm gonna leave this video right here if you want to check my favorite spiritual books, and this playlist here with my original music in case you've never listened and you're curious. And as always, keep shining your light, keep your heart open, and let love lead the way. I love you. See you in the next episode. Bye.